is will be joining in 3 minutes. So when Sarah has reached, we'll start our program accordingly.
Which can transform conventional tourism into creative tourism, providing more authentic and genuine experiences. And this mix of tangible and intangible heritage with contemporary culture was also seen as imparting uniqueness to the cultural tourism product, which can never be experienced elsewhere. Now, when we look at cultural tourism destination, we think about its incomparable cultural heritage. When we look at the incomparable cultural heritage, we look at museums, we look at theaters, we look at archaeological sites, we look at historical cities, and as well as we look at musics and other things also. And this cultural heritage enriches our lives and provides inspiration for our cultural and creative industry. The combination of culture and tourism can be a powerful driver of economic activity. The benefit, if you look at, of a closer link between culture and tourism go beyond the economic returns. Traveling to experience the culture of others means gaining a direct appreciation of cultural diversity, establishing new cultural ties, helping to keep our cultural heritage alive. And to ensure this, what we need a sustainable approach which balances the need to boost economic growth and tourism on the one hand, and the preservation of this cultural heritage on the other. We all know that in some cities, massive tourist inflows are taking their toll on heritage and also on the quality of life of residents. When we look at leisure and tourism services, this leisure and tourism services largely depends on the experience sharing of consumers than mere destination promotions by the company and the government. Many tourism products, I'm sorry, many tourism products, if you look at maybe agricultural tourism, maybe ecotourism, maybe health tourism, all are promoted through the experience sharing of consumers, while the heritage tourism is co-promoted by the government and partner tourism companies. And when you look at culture and tourism integration, and if we refer to various research findings, tourism provides an important way for the inheritance and spread of culture. And at the same time, culture is the fundamental element of cultural connotation. Culture can increase the connotation and appeal of tourists. Through cultural resources, through cultural creativity, the cultural value added and market appeal of tourism industry can be enhanced. Therefore, if we say without tourism, culture will be isolated. Without culture, tourism will be empty. This may not be wrong. Therefore, in the integrated development of cultural industry, in the integrated development of tourism industry, tourism can make full use of the culture to transform the shape of tourism product and enhance the cultural quality of tourism products. The growth of tourism industry has seen a new tourism product. And what is that? That is heritage tourism. And which is being suggested to be one of the trump cards for the tourism industry of the future. We all know that heritage is derived from past images of history translated into reality. Heritage tourism is a form of specialty travel. What is that? That's a form of specialty travel based on nostalgia of the past and the desire to experience diverse cultural landscapes. And so, heritage tourism is nothing but landscapes, natural history, buildings, artifacts, cultural traditions passed on from generation to the next in the form of a tourism product. It can be built heritage product, it can be natural heritage product, it can be cultural heritage product, you name. Many countries across the globe have used cultural heritage as a platform for urban renewal. I'm sorry. Economic viability and for building a shared sense of identity among host communities. Heritage, if you look at, for the purpose of tourism, can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, exponential demand can provide the political and economic base for securing and financial support for the government, fiscal support to expand conservation-friendly activities. On the other hand, issues such as increase in vegetation and overuse and inappropriate use of cultural asset threaten the survival of fragile assets. We must be very careful. We must be careful in handling that. How to go for tourism promotion, heritage tourism promotion. Heritage tourism promotion, if we look at normally what we find heritage tourism is promoted by the government agencies as traveling to experience the places, archaeological culture, historical evidences, and activities that authentically illustrated at designated destinations to represent the people of the past.
मैं 2 मिनट में बुलाता हूँ, मेनू डिसाइड कर गए। एक बार देख लो कौन कौन सी चीजें हैं हमारे पास, बताना मुझे।
The heritage tourism brands, if you look at the attributes of heritage tourism brands, to the social, cultural effects that converge with enhancement of consumer knowledge and experience. The new approach on heritage tourism is to generate consumer awareness and also the motivation at the societal level, also to create community involvement by empowering and involving community stakeholders. The importance of culture and heritage, if you look at, is blended in a hybrid tourism strategy in both destination and regional development. In both destination and regional development. Cultural factors play significant role because they directly affect the performance of leisure and tourism development and therefore the competitiveness of the industry. And hence, the tourism industry need to review the complex relations between culture, heritage, geography, tourism, economy, and consumer experience, and define the alternative form and trends in cultural tourism and experiential marketing. When we look at culture, what is culture? Culture includes knowledge, standards, symbols that serve as heritage. That may be art, that may be religions, that may be beliefs, and maybe everyday human attitude and behavior. And this attribute of culture in the context of leisure and tourism can be talked into two distinctive branches, either intellectual or material heritage. And when we talk about intellectual heritage, it signifies the wide range of intellectual properties, values, and relationships of a destination or a group of people, including identity, while the material heritage refer to the relics and values of built environment. And hence, the leisure and tourism companies, therefore, need to understand cultural heritage to develop destination brands that could deliver destination knowledge and induce brand literacy to dwell the brand sustainable in the leisure and tourism industry and market as well. The most effective leisure and tourism companies compete in the market by differentiating the quality of services, destination brand literacy, and trust attributes into decisions domains of the consumer. And if you look at these companies, they compete on appropriate value of price. They compete on the quality of our tourism offering and the trust and contribution to the tourism knowledge. And hence, the companies are considering these value preferences in reference to the attributes of destination branding, core deliverables, and changing preferences of consumers. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Actually, there is a power failure here. I thought something may have gone wrong. Anyway,
Yes, sir,
so
you're
I'm
audible.
audible. Thank you very much. Now, if we look at when you look at the heritage branding heritage tourism, we all know that a brand is nothing but a set of tangible and intangible attributes designed to create awareness, to create identity, to build a reputation about a product or maybe a service, maybe a person, maybe a place, or maybe an organization. That is what the basic definition of a brand. And the holistic perspective of branding as a long-term strategy, if you look at, include a wide set of activities ranging from product innovation to marketing communication. The objective of branding strategy is to create brands that are differentiated from competition, thereby reducing the number of substitutes in the marketplace. When high brand equity is achieved through brand differentiation, the price elasticity of demand becomes low, allowing the company or the marketer or the service provider to increase price and improve profitability. The secret to any brand success, is finding the meaning behind the product and services it sells. For every major global brand, there is an intangible meaning attached to its brand identity, which determines its success and future growth. So that intangible meaning which is attached to the brand identity must be communicated to the customer so that you find a success in the brand. And how do you create the meaning that determines your brand's true value to people, true value to the customer, and by extension, the price they are willing to pay for it? The answer to this question lies in identifying its shared intangible value. If I take you to the stock market, the entire value of the stock market is estimated in the trillions of dollars. Yet, if we are to sell off all the buildings, merchandise, vehicles, and other physical assets that comprise this value, you would not get even 20% of the estimated value. So what creates this value that can be treated or traded but not weighed, sieved or tossed? It is the intangible value of those companies. Look at Uber. Uber owns not a single car. Amazon's success is not built on ownership of a single mall or store. It's all intangible. Similarly, it is not the black, sugary liquidity of Coke that is valuable. It is what the soda represents as an embodiment of happiness and human connection that gives it value to buyer and therefore the market. And when you look at tourism branding, or maybe in specifically if you look at heritage branding, we all know brand as a concept dates back to 1950s, and it was defined as a complex symbol that consists of brand attributes. Go to any marketing book, you'll find that talks about attributes, name, packaging, price, historical reputation, and advertising. And the basic significance of brand is to create exclusive differentiation and functionality. And if I refer to Philip Kotler's definition of branding, brand is nothing but a seller, a name, a term, a mark, a symbol, a design, or a combination of everything. And if you in tourism, brand plays a significant role in differentiation and functionality. Tourism brands usually refer to the different indicators of tourism consumers' identification of both tourism product and services. How a tourist is identifying a product and service, tourism product and service. The positive brand reputation of tourism companies and attraction can help the company stand out and occupy a favorable position in the competitive tourism market. We all have studied tourism typology. And why we need to study? Because we want to understand the profile of the tourist, and different tourists, we all know, have different regions for choosing a tour. And it is necessary for a tourism marketer to understand each tourist's aims or objective. Different scholars have given distinct tourism typologies based on their different regions. And it is well accepted that the analysis of tourist typology is essential for the development of tourism industry to serve the tourists in a better way and also to make it profitable. And if we refer to Cohen's study, tourists could be divided into 4 types. We all know that can be mass tourists, that can be individual mass tourists, that can be explorers and drifters. And hence, the task of the tourism company is complex, since they need to distinguish the tourist type so that they could better and more promptly arrange the services. And why it is done? It is done because tourism development is closely related to the demand for services from the tourist, and hence the tourism marketer need to design different products or different plans or different offers for the different types of tourists. And when we talk about the heritage tourism, we are mostly focusing on cultural tourists. Cultural tourists are the easily recognizable market and are known as to be visitors who tend to stay longer, spend more, and travel in low seasons. They can also be older, they can be better educated, they can be more affluent, and there can be more number of women who constitute a larger share of that particular market. Cultural tourists, if you look at, can join in more activities than other tourists. And when I'm talking about, I'm not saying that these are all represent cultural tourists. There can be many more. The majority of the cultural tourist typologies that we consider that exist these days are either adopted or elaborated version of a framework which we all refer to as Cross and McCarthy. And this typology has 5 types, identifies 5 types of cultural tourists based on centrality of trip purpose and depth of experiences or destination. And the first typology, if you look at, is purposeful cultural tourists. Who are they? To this particular group, cultural tourism is the primary motive for visiting a destination. And the individual has a deep cultural experience. The second category, if you look at, is sightseeing cultural tourists. For them, cultural tourism is a primary or major reason for visiting a destination, but the experience is shallow. The serendipitous cultural tourist is the one who does not travel for cultural tourism reasons, but who, after participating, ends up having a deep cultural tourism experience. And for casual tourists, cultural tourism is a weak motive for visiting a destination. And the resultant experience is shallow. And the last one, if we look at, is incidental cultural tourists. Tourist does not travel for cultural tourism reasons, but nonetheless participates in some activities and has shallow experiences. You can relate it to the Atlas study that identifies specific and general cultural tourists also. Now, understanding the behavior, understanding the travel pattern, understanding the expectation, understanding the requirement, understanding the need of the cultural tourists. Now look at destination branding. Because when we talk about heritage is the core part, critical element of any destination. Today, when we look at the world is a market. Accelerated globalization means that every country, every city, every region must compete with each other for their share of world's consumers, tourists, investors, entrepreneurs, maybe international sporting and cultural events, for the attention and respect of the international media, maybe the residents of other countries. And in so, branding is not just marketing activities, but also holistic development that affects a specific place, contributing to increasing the awareness and networking association with people of a particular destination. Various destinations worldwide are increasingly aware of the importance to perform on promotion of their own name in order to be competitive on the local as well on the international level. Those destinations which do not understand the importance of promoting their own name regardless of the features that have, and if they underestimate the importance of marketing communications, maybe sooner or later will end up behind their competition. And when we look at marketing of destination brand is complex, as they often fail to restore the interest of tourists due to lack of brand literacy and destination knowledge. Cultural tourism markets, which normally we consider comprises ethnic heritage, sorry, and destination brands embedded with various knowledge elements of different regions, are yet to develop aggressive strategies. As consumption of cultural goods and services spread all over the world, tourism obviously tend to expand. And culture as regards to this is an essential dimension of tourism development today. Culture and tourism are two facets of a destination. Culture may be understood as the underlying value framework that governs the individual and group behavior. It is reflected in the perceptions of individuals in observed events, maybe through personal interactions and in the selection of appropriate responses in the social situations. And for destination branding, it is essential for creating competitive identity. If we report to UNWTO, report of 2015, in 2014, there were about 133 million tourists who traveled around the world, and travel and tourism generated about 9% of the world GDP. These are all relating to the movement of tourists. Why people are traveling? Why people have selected a particular destination? The regions, states, cities, they all are aiming to grab as much as possible from that sweet pie, that number of tourists, so that they can take advantage of that particular group of people who are traveling worldwide. And trying to show what they are trying to create a positive and competitive identity. And why they are doing it? Because they consider that this will help them to create positive image. With created positive image, it becomes easier and simpler simpler to reach the desired goals. When we look at destination branding, it is primarily taking place in the tourist purposes, but indirectly by strengthening their own brand name, they also strengthen their political, economic, and other influences. With the arrival of an increasing number of tourists to a particular city, particular destination, particular state, particular region, there is also an increasing inflow of financial resources, which is realized maybe from sale of souvenirs, maybe arrivals of hotel chains, maybe through other major services which destination brand rise up to an even higher level, and thus creates or maintains a positive image of a particular destination. When we look at a brand exists only when the product acquires the power to influence on the market. What is a product? Product is something that is produced at the factory. And maybe if you ask, what is a brand? The answer can be, brand is something that is bought by the consumers. competitor, or maybe through competition, one can copy the product, but the brand remains unique. The product can quickly become obsolete, but the brand remains timeless. So the brand incorporates the emotion generated by the consumer. What is this? It is totality of attitudes about the product created by the consumers, carrying them with you in your thoughts and heart. In tourism or in tourism promotion, what are they? They are all experiences of people from past time who visited a particular country, and this channel is the loudest voice during destination branding, as tourist offices have a very big budget and highly capable market experts. Considering the large number of information available to people, people, because lack of free time or experience, make decisions based on the past association. So different cliches and stereotypes have a strong influence on people's behavior towards other places. They are inhabitants and products. So most people relate Italy with good design, Germany with quality, Japan with high and advanced technology, maybe Brazil with carnival and football, Swiss with precisions, watches, banks, and chocolates, and so on. To relate this positive association with a particular country, particular region, particular destination, particular city, it is necessary to have your competitive identity. And in order to create a competitive identity, it is necessary to have a correlation between all the stakeholders who are playing a critical role as regards to the promotion and development of tourism is concerned. The stakeholder must work in coordination with a consistently high level of quality and in line with the overall national strategy that sets clear targets of the national economy or regional economy or with the society. So without a competitive identity, it is difficult to start creating a strategy which will help us to create unique destination brand. Then what is the role of culture in promoting destination? Role of heritage in promoting destination? The image of the country, the image of the destination, the image of the region, the image of the city. What is this? Is in fact the result of its geographical position, its history, its art, its famous citizens, and numerous other features. Why is culture so strong and influential promotional tool? The reason is that the consumers are not so skeptical towards the culture as they are towards commercial messages. So when we talk about popular culture, we continue to talk about art, we continue to talk about entertainment, which in humans reduces alertness and requires no hidden programs. culture, if you look at, is more eloquent communicator of national or maybe a destination image than the commercial brands. Adding that, it is possible to boo commercial brands of a destination, but not its culture. Therefore, culture can often play a key role in the transformation of current image of country into something more useful. It is a necessary component. You can consider to create an image of any place to become really satisfactory, and it is specifically for those cities, those destinations, those regions or those countries that suffer the consequences that their image is to a large degree or completely based on tourism. So if particular tourist destination has a rich cultural life, it is seen as not just a tourist destination, but also as a place with a comprehensive offer, which can be used over the all year. Throughout the year, it can be used. Culture can be used by organizing film festivals, musics, and sporting events or other similar events which can strengthen the role of culture in destination branding. There are many well-known places, if you look at, which are known by the festivals they organize. Maybe if you take the example of film festivals, it may be Cannes, it may be Los Angeles, it may be Borneo, or maybe New York, known for its music festival. All these events contribute more or less in branding a particular destination. So in a certain way, or if you can say specifically, tourist destinations that organize various cultural events or projects have become very proud of them. Popular culture is perhaps the most influential aspect of culture that attracts a variety of visitors. So destinations can become a very attractive, where this attractiveness is based on culture. Their main distinctive feature is to offer people a great story that can tell each other, and culture is an excellent medium for that. What is the role of cultural heritage in promoting destination? While we are branding destinations, when we are talking about culture as an inherent part of our branding destinations, then what is the role of cultural heritage in promoting destinations? We can talk about tourism as one of the most important economic branches worldwide. Few minutes back, I was telling you, which generates about 9% of global GDP. Tourists in the past were inexperienced, uninformed, homogeneous, unspontaneous, predictable. They traveled in groups, ran away from the daily routine. They were addicted and they looked only for passive holidays. Now what you find in modern tourists? They're experienced, they're informed, they're heterogeneous, they are spontaneous, they're unpredictable, they're individuals, they're independent, and they are looking for new experiences. And therefore, The modern tourist make decisions on the choice of destination depending on whether offer of destination meets with their need, with their expectation, with their desire as they're looking for. And this offer which a destination marketer is making should provide them an unforgettable experience. Modern tourists want to get to know the local culture. They want to come in contact with local people. They get to know national folklore. They want to visit festivals, maybe museums, maybe galleries, and so on. Many destinations we find face the problem of how to increase the total tourist offer, while the same offer adapt fully the wishes and needs of the potential visitor. Yes, of course, tourism destinations which are rich with cultural and heritage, historical heritage, as also attractive locations for holding various cultural events, have a huge head start to develop an event which will have wider range of tourist offer. Cultural tourism, if you look at, is certainly one of the fastest growing types of tourism in the global market. Cultural tourism is one of the special forms of tourism. And what is that? This has a long-term competitive advantage. Tourism and culture, if you look at, are intertwined. And with designing cultural tourism product, the basic product of destination offer is enriched. So the tourist stay in destination is longer. The financial gain, or you can say the income, is bigger, and satisfaction with destination is better. Modern tourist does not seek only beautiful beaches, the sun, the quality accommodation, because today many tourist destinations can offer it. These attributes cannot differentiate between the competing destination and establishing your own competitive identity. The modern tourist, if you look at, has specific wishes and needs. And it is associated with learning about new culture, people, and customs. And to be different, destinations must have something that others do not have. And if you look at the culture or the heritage, is that distinctive spot or distinctive part or distinctive element for the destination. There are close links between cultural heritage and promotion of destination. In fact, today, when every day more and more destinations in the world take battle to attract many tourists as they can to improve their own economy, so they recognize cultural heritage as the important, or you can say key promotional tool in order to promote their own place as a tourist destination. The cultural heritage, if you look at, is a masterpiece of certain period. It has some unique, credible value. As an immediate frame of life adjusted to periods in history and conditioned social status of their customers. Therefore,
Dear participants, since sir has lost the internet connection, we have to wait for.
Yes,
more
yes, yes.
minutes.
I'm now back.
Okay, sir.
I'm back.
Okay, audible sir. Now audible sir.
Yes, yes. Okay. Because there is a continuous power failure in the area where I'm in the department. So if you look at the cultural assets, they have extremely promotional power. Look at archaeological sites, the architecture, the museum, the art, the sculptures, crafts, maybe galleries, or you can say the festivals, music and dances, including the folk dances also, the dramas and theories, dramas and the languages. They are all can be used as promotional powers. And in
Your
order
screen
to
is not visible. Sorry, your screen is not visible.
yes,
Sir, please share your screen, sir. Your screen is not visible.
it's not visible now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now it is visible.
No sir.
Not yet, sir.
Because it got disconnected anyway. Okay.
Now,
Now is it visible?
Visible, sir. It is visible, sir. Thank you, sir.
it's visible now.
Yes. So I was talking to you about the cultural assets. So they are extremely powerful. And in order to promote a particular destination through cultural heritage, it is necessary to identify the uniqueness of that particular destination in terms of its cultural heritage and to present it effectively. The cultural goods do not become a tourist attraction in itself, but with planned strategy, cultural heritage becomes a brand. As long as the cultural heritage does not become a brand, it does not enter in the primary field of interest of tourists. The planned strategy of cultural heritage creates a brand that is trying as much as possible to motivate the tourist or maybe the potential tourist to visit a particular destination. When we are branding destination through cultural heritage, we should try to support the development of a tourist destination throughout the year. Unlike traditional tourist destinations, whose economy largely depends on the season, the destinations that are branded promoted, developed through cultural heritage as a main offer of the advantage that they can be competitive, can be offered throughout the year, including off-season. So, cultural heritage can become a tourism product and is becoming a tourism product which can be or is being consumed during the year round. When we are promoting a destination through cultural heritage, it is critical to analyze the strengths of the destination. For certain destinations which are branded through cultural heritage, it is not enough possession of cultural goods such as museum, gallery, or something like that. This destination needs to live the spirit of the time. They come to a certain cultural property. That means they need to provide to tourists to enter the spirit of the time on the way to attend the theater, to see the old craft, etc. So in that manner, it is critical for the destination marketer to understand how to tourist or how the visitor who is visiting your destination to see, to experience the cultural heritage becomes satisfied. So destinations must tell stories. The destinations must tell stories, which will be transferred from tourists to their friends and relatives who may become visitors of that destination in the future. And this is how the tourists are becoming ambassadors of destinations, with spreading positive impressions from the trip. And without it, visitors will gain an insight into the culture and cultural heritage sites that have been visited, but devoid of feelings and stories of this time. They will not be able to enter the spirit with what they saw, what they learned in a specific destination. So that is a critical role to be played by the destination market. So you have to understand, you have to determine the potential of a destination and its storytelling. The cultural heritage has its magnetism. The cultural goods, cultural heritage, which can be successfully pulled through the year during both season and off season, can become successful. I will refer to three important paradigms, and this can act as a magnetism to attract as many as possible tourists in particular tourist destination. The first is, if you look at its cultural good, and this cultural good would be perceived between the dichotomy of supply and demand. For example, the Eiffel Tower in Paris or the pyramids of Egypt are sufficiently strong magnet to attract a large number of tourists in Paris or Egypt, or maybe the world tourism, the critical the destinations in India as well, the heritage, Indian heritage. This cultural goods become carriers and one of the most recognizable brands of particular places. And the strength of their brand is also overflowing and strengthens the brand places in which it is located. Yes, cultural goods are automatically located, automatically linked with stories and attractive landmarks that leads to a special story that is very interesting for tourists. Each World Heritage Sites has its own story. The way it is narrated, the way it is presented, the way it is showcased. The second, if you look at second paradigm, if you look at is the expansion of information. The idea that the presence of a large number of elements of cultural heritage provides favorable conditions for the emergence of new cultural goods and services, and also even reinforces the power to investigate new different cultural goods that can be sold outside the area, outside the destination, outside the region, outside the country. And this paradigm, if you look at, is based on more frequent urban plans and projects of destinations which one do not want to remain only in the past. And this paradigm, if you look at, involves creativity to magnetism with cultural heritage passed on to a new cultural tourist attractions that have the potential to eventually become part of the cultural heritage of a particular destination. Third, if you look at the expression of cultural goods and activities, one of the challenges of physical access to cultural dynamics is the understanding of territorial cohesion among the various elements, as well as synergies between the tangible and intangible cultural properties. Different historical periods, as well as cultural assets arising from these periods, and how they are altogether promoted at a particular destination. So cultural heritage, if you look at, distinguishes one place from the another, one destination from the other, one region from the other, one city from the other. Many cultural goods become a symbol of the place in which they are located. I was telling you about Eiffel Tower. I was talking to you about pyramids, maybe Statue of Liberty. So many things you can refer to. They are the symbol of the place. And these cultural goods gained from the cultural heritage in a function of promoting destination, secure that destination is visited not only during this short period or during this season, yet it can be visited all year round. Now, to conclude, this is the last slide I am referring to. What are the key issues? Applying marketing strategies and techniques to heritage sites very well represent the opportunity to link cultural heritage, maybe artistic impression, and local economic and social development. marketing operators are paying attention to a number of differentiator, or you can say differences that occur when comparing cultural heritage sector to other sector. Almost every aspect of basic marketing theory can be applied to either historic product or historic sites or to heritage tourism, ranging from strategy and marketing research to consumer behavior. Any heritage site that attract visitors, even those with managers, is subject to a marketing phenomenon. What is key, what is critical is creating of its own identity. In heritage, it is critical for a destination who is promoting it with the help of cultural heritage must create its identity. The preservation of identity, not only creation, the preservation of identity also is key as regards to heritage tourism is concerned. The second key issue is longing for the past. What is that? We are referring to nostalgia. This involves a longing for the past, a sentimental recollection of yesteryears, or a penchant for objects or experiences that are associated with a prior era. The phenomena of nostalgia has been studied in different disciplines, maybe sociology, maybe psychology, and has also been explored extensively in marketing literature related to brands and products. So in heritage tourism, nostalgia also has been discussed extensively. And when you are branding heritage tourism, we must talk about nostalgia. We must emphasize on nostalgia so that we can present a sentimental recollection.
For a while and just wait for a few minutes. Just kindly wait for a few. And all the participants are requested to drop
Yes.
any questions or queries regarding the topics being delivered.
Yes, you can create your own experience. You can create a desired experience in the mind of a tourist who is visiting to your destination while you are promoting heritage tourism, while you are promoting cultural tourism through authenticity. So three issues. Authenticity, nostalgia, and identity. Or identity, longing for the past, and authenticity can create can play as a critical element, as regards to the heritage branding is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your informative, insightful, and valuable talk. Now we will take up some questions from the participant. May I request the participant to drop any questions regarding the topic? You may drop your questions in the chat box. Any question from the participant? If we have no question, if there is no question, we shall end our technical session. Before we end our technical session, I would like to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to our resource person, Professor Bifraj Busan Parida, for taking time out of his busy schedule. We're really thankful to you, sir, for your encouraging and motivational address. Also, thank you to all the participants for your active participation and sparing your valuable time for this session. We are sure that by participating in this session, you have gained useful knowledge and also new innovative ideas. And as requested in the chat box from the participant, we will share the PowerPoint presentation or the recorded video later to you. So we will definitely end today's session on a very high note with your resourceful and insightful speech, sir. So with this, we have come to an end of the third sessions of today. Tomorrow, the first technical session will be starting from 10 a.m., 10 in the morning, and we request all the participants to join at the right time.
Thank you very
everyone.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Namaste, sir.
Thank you. Thank you,
sir.
So successfully we have completed our first day of our AICTE Atal FDP. Dear participants, I may tell you around 120 participants are very much regular during their sessions, but I will request you again, if you are having some friends, those who have registered, and some colleagues must have registered with you, please convey this message, because the attendance is a auto-generated attendance which will be collected by AICTE from the site itself, and definitely at the end of the FDP, if they are not eligible to score more than 80% of attendance, then they may not get certificate from AICTE. Being the coordinator, being the organizing institution, we are declaring from the starting of the program, the attendance and particularly attendance is not in our hand, and you have to score more than 80% attendance. And you should know there is one eminent reviewer of this FDP appointed by AICTE. In every technical session, he is attending the program, and at last you should not blame us if you are not getting certificate from AICTE due to the shortage of attendance. I will request you all again, please convey this message to your friends, and thank you all for attending all the sessions very seriously. And definitely the questions will come from the sessions itself, and please be careful of listening all the sessions seriously, so that you will be able to score more than 60% mark in the examination. Thank you all.